Guys, today we are going to do exercise 23. This will be plain and twill view. Now, for those of you who have not taken the textiles class yet, I want to go over that again. This is an example of a plane view, and on a plane view, you can see that we have two sets of yarns. There are these yarns going horizontally, and then there are these gray yarns going vertically. We usually call the yarns that are in the lengthwise grain of the fabric the warp yarns. So let's assume this is the lengthwise grain. So the gray yarns here would be our warp yarns, and the white yarns would be the weft yarns or the filling yarns. So as you can see, the white yarn goes under the gray, above the gray, under the gray, above the gray. And then on the next line, it does whatever it did here, it does the opposite of that. If it is above here, it's below, and so on. So it kind of repeats that whole pattern. Just to show you guys an example of this, she's doing this with paper. These are like warp yarns. So we set up our warp yarns when we are weaving a fabric. So she's using those yellow yarns as the filling. And you can see that it's one up, one down. On the next one, we are kind of doing the same thing, except wherever we are under, we are above, and wherever we are above, we are under on the next line. In this video, you can see how to make a twill pattern, and she is doing a 2 by 2, I believe. So she went 2 above, then 2 below, then 2 above. Now on the next line, she is shifting. So she's going 2 below here, then 2 above. And then every time she does this, she's repeating the same thing. It's still 2 above, 2 below, but she keeps shifting one yarn as she does that. So if you look at this, there's always a diagonal line going when you look at the fabric from far away. You have those blue lines diagonally going this way. And if you look at this here, this is a plain weave pattern, and this is a twill pattern. And in twill pattern, you see these yarns again going in a diagonal way. Now, these are weaving patterns. These are how the yarns interlace with each other in the woven fabric. But when we talk about a plaid fabric, we are talking about fabrics that look kind of like this. In a plaid fabric, the weaving pattern can be plain view or a twill view. So I'm going to show you two fabrics that are woven, and I believe in my case both of them are twill view patterns. But if you just get a little bit further away from the fabric, you see a plaid pattern. So now I'm going to show you my other fabric. This is another fabric that has kind of a plaid pattern. And when you go close to it, you can see that the yarns are interlacing in a more diagonal way. So this is definitely a twill view pattern. Guys, if you like, you can follow through your book. In your book, it's going to be page 425. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to select in pixels. It's going to be a tiny little page. It's going to be 4 pixels by 4 pixels, and I'm going to change the resolution to 72 pixels per inch. All right, you see how small this is. Let's just zoom that in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to use the pencil tool for this one. Okay, it's right here. And pencil tool is a 1 pixel. So when you do this, it's going to be just 1 pixel. So what I want you to do is create this diagonal shape, okay? And this is going to be our twill pattern. So now I'm going to select all. Okay, we have that selected, and I'm going to define this as a pattern. And I'm going to call this twill pattern. Now I'm going to continue. Our yarn goes 1 up, 1 below the warp, 1 up again, and 1 below the warp. So this is a plain view pattern. And now we are going to define this as a pattern as well. Okay, and this is going to be our plain view. Okay, now we're going to create a new page. And we are going to make this 24 pixels by 24 pixels. And remember, this is not inches, pixels, and I still want to keep it at 72. And that's another small one. We can zoom that in a little bit. Now on this one, we're going to use the pencil tool again, and we are going to create our plaid pattern. And remember that pattern I showed you? I'm going to try to recreate that. What I'm going to do is I'll use this gray in 2 pixels maybe. Okay, so I'll make this gray. I'll take this green, maybe a little lighter. I'll make a little more of the green. I'll make a black line here. And then I think I'm going to make the rest of it green again. So I'll pick up this color for the pencil. And I'll do that. Okay, so I have my pattern. Now I'm going to go to the marquee and just select this section only. Okay, and we're going to define this as a pattern. So this is going to be my plaid pattern 1. Okay, now I'm going to select all, and I'm going to fill this whole thing with that last pattern that I made. Okay, now you have this. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer. So duplicate layer, and we're going to call this the plain view. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'll go to edit, transform, and rotate this 90 degrees. Okay, now there are a lot of steps in this one, so you may have to watch the video and do it at the same time so that you can follow. All right, now I'm going to duplicate this layer one more time, and this time I'll call it the twill view. And now we have 3 here. So we have the background, plain view, twill view. Now we're going to go to the plain view one, and we're going to do something really interesting here. It's a new thing. We've never done this before. So there's this icon here. It's called add layer mask. So we're going to add a layer mask. So you're going to click on this, and we're going to fill this with our plain view pattern. So we're going to go pick our plain view pattern here. Okay. Now you can't see it because this one is on top. I'm gonna cover that so that we can see that design. Check the image size on this. Now this is quite small. If you look at it in pixels, it's 24 by 24. I want to increase this 4 times. So I'm going to make it 24 by 2 is 48. 48 by 2 is 96. So I'm going to make it 96 by 96. But just remember to do this. It's usually automatic by default, and the automatic kind of blurs them out. So you want to select nearest neighbor hard edges. Okay. You select that so that it is still a sharper image when we make it bigger, and you say okay. All right, so we have this one done. To define the pattern, you have to be on the background, so I'm gonna define pattern. That's plain view plaid, and save it. Now if you want to go open up a page, we're going to make it 72 pixels per inch and select all, fill, and we select that pattern. And now we have a plaid design. Okay, so this is one of them. Now let's go back here. Now on this one, we're going to close this, and we're going to work on this one. And we are doing, oops, sorry, this is what it is. We're going to do a layer mask, and we go fill, and we are going to select our twill, and we got it. Now our image size, we want to check to make sure it's 96 pixels instead of 24. So in inches, this would be 1.33, and you're still at 72, and make sure you have nearest neighbor hard edges selected. You go to the background, select all, define pattern, and we're going to call this the twill pattern plaid. Okay, now we can go back to our page. I think we already opened the page. We're going to fill this with our final pattern, and now we have a plaid view here. Now I want you guys to see the two different fabrics side by side. Let's do a print page. We'll make the resolution 72. On this one, I'm going to make the width twice as much, so 17, or maybe let's do it 18. And then the height, I'm going to make it 13. Okay, and let's create this. Now I'm going to copy paste both of my pictures side by side. So this one, I'm going to edit, copy, and come here and paste it. Okay. And then maybe create a new layer for the other one. So this one, edit, copy, come here and paste it. Okay. Now I'm going to move my tools to kind of put them side by side so that you can see the difference between the two. So let's put it like this. And I'm going to go to text. I'll select this green color. And here we're going to say plain view. And for this one, I'm going to copy this and paste it. And I'll say twill view. Okay, so you guys can see the difference. This is the plain view where the yarns are going one up, one down. And this is a twill where it's a little more diagonal. So when I zoom in to this, you'll be able to see the difference, right? So with the plain view, your yarns are up, down, and then with the twill, you have that diagonal look. Okay, so this is it. Now I'm going to go ahead and save these. Okay, save. And this is going to be our exercise 23, plain and twill view. Okay, we are done.